All right, today we are diving into something truly special. It's one of the most wonderfully chaotic, rule breaking fiction I have ever come across. This is Emma Colette in honor of copyright infringement. And trust me, this isn't just a story, it is a glorious, self aware train wreck that just gleefully smashes through the fourth wall from the very first page.
Okay, so right off the bat, the story just hits you with its core philosophy. And this isn't just some quirky quote. It's basically the operating system for the entire narrative. The whole idea is that you can get to wisdom by being, and I quote, clever and being foolish. This is the story's license to embrace the completely absurd, and boy, does it cash that check again and again. So, how does a story like this even work? Well, it just completely throws the rulebook out the window. See, the author, a character named Ed, is constantly interrupting the story, arguing with his own creations, and, generally just making a mess of things. And his main character, his rebellious agent Emma Colette, is, well, as you might guess, not exactly thrilled with her creator. In this relationship right here, this is the engine of the story's chaos. Ed sends Emma on this half-baked revenge mission against something called Fermented University, just because they sent him some insulting letters. His grandmaster plan? He cheerfully admits he has no plan whatsoever. So Emma, his supposed agent, just immediately hijacks the whole thing to help the students. And what's Ed's reaction to this open rebellion? He just finds it interesting. Now, every story needs a good villain, right? And ours is a lecturer named Amsum who proudly calls himself the Failmeister. His greatest joy in life, apparently, is designing impossible exams just to make sure every single student fails. He's the absolute perfect target for a rebellion. I mean, a true personification of academic tyranny. And this is the exact moment Emma just completely takes over. She totally forgets about Ed's petty little revenge mission and rallies all these downtrodden students. Suddenly, this isn't about some angry author anymore. No, this is a revolution. She declares all-out war on the F-Meister's paper, promising to liberate the entire school. And what does every revolution need? A flag, of course. So the students march toward the exam hall under this absolutely magnificent banner. The slogan, "The stupidity of our foes makes us shine," it's perfect. It so brilliantly captures the story's whole idea of flipping foolishness into a strength. It's ridiculous, it's defiant, and it is absolutely glorious. So as they're marching, they're singing this anthem. It's this amazing mix of classic battle cries and wonderfully childish insults, like literally telling the professor his breath stinks. And the whole time, the story keeps this running tally of copyright infringement, gleefully pointing out every time it borrows a trope or a plot point. By this point, I think the author just lost count. I know I did. Get this, the author actually pauses the story here just to give us a definition to help us understand Emma's character type. She's a classic tsundere, which is a total staple in anime. You know the type, she's really tough and confrontational on the outside, which, of course, just makes those moments where she shows genuine passion for the student's cause all the more impactful. So the students arrive, they're all fired up, ready for battle, and of course, Anzam springs his trap. The exam is supposed to be for an English class, but every single question is about advanced electronics. It's a totally impossible task, right? It's designed to guarantee failure. But for Emma and her little army, this isn't a problem. It's just the next stage of the battlefield. To rally the students, Emma introduces this philosophy, the Narutotic principle of exams, which is a blatant and frankly hilarious riff on the anime Naruto. And here's the crucial part. The exam is no longer a test of knowledge, it's an infiltration mission. The goal isn't to know the answers, but to retrieve them without being caught by the sniper, the teacher. My favorite rule? You're not a criminal until you've been caught. And their method for retrieving this info? It's as brilliant as it is completely insane. The students use this ridiculously complex cheating system based on animal sounds and pop culture references. A high-pitched Naruto means it's a tricky question. A combination of barks and meows uses some kind of inverse logic to eliminate wrong answers. It is absolute madness, but somehow, within the story's own logic, it's genius. So the students all pass with flying colors. But the final, crushing blow to Absum's spirit comes from this one student, Ernest Egan. When Absum tries to gloat about giving him a C+, Ernest just masterfully twists it into a victory. He reframes the grade as C++, like the programming language, and thanks the professor profusely. This little act of intellectual judo just completely breaks the F-Meister's mind.
Okay, so the students have won victory. But right as they're celebrating, the story just slams on the brakes and shifts into what it calls a director's cut. And we're suddenly forced to reconsider everything. What was the author, Ed, really planning this whole time? Was this rebellion actually the true point of the mission? And then we get the twist. Ed and his cronies confront Emma, and he delivers this absolutely crushing line. He tells her he never actually cared about her as a person or as an agent, he only cared about her cooking. It feels like this shocking, cruel betrayal that finally reveals his true villainous nature.
But of course, nothing in this story is ever what it seems. The truth is somehow even more absurd than the lie. The entire adventure, the university, the F-Meister, the student rebellion, and even that heartbreaking betrayal was all just an absurdly convoluted surprise birthday party. Ed's only real goal was to keep Emma so busy that she'd forget her own birthday.
The whole thing wraps up with Ed, the author himself, stepping into the scene to confront Abe Beansom directly. He brilliantly turns the professor's own taunt back on him, asking, "Can you smell my fear?" And Abe Beansom, completely terrified by this fourth-wall-breaking author god, can only admit that the only fear he smells is his own. The creator steps in to protect his creation. It's kind of sweet in a weird way.
So after all that chaos, all that nonsense, what's the big takeaway? Well, the story gives us this surprisingly practical moral lesson ripped straight from the world of science. It's a completely out-of-left-field conclusion, a final meta-joke that suggests Ablinsom's real fatal flaw was a simple failure to account for the ultimate external variable, the chaotic author pulling the strings of his reality. And so we end right back where we began, after a journey through calculated nonsense and purposeful chaos. It really leaves us with the final thought to chew on. When does being clever and being foolish stop being just a joke and start looping back around to become its own kind of genuine wisdom? That's the question this wonderfully insane story leaves us to answer for ourselves.